Cowabunga, dudes! And welcome back to The Average, where the real review happens with your friends. I'm Tim.
And I'm Johnathan, coming to you live from the sewer, metaphorically and sometimes emotionally.
Today we're diving shell first into the 1990 classic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a film that gave us gritty puppets, pizza obsession, and one of the most radical soundtracks of the early 90s. It was dark, it was weirdly emotional, and yes, it's still kind of awesome.
Here at The Average, we don't just shout out a score and move on. We break down each movie into categories like story, acting, direction, and cultural impact, and build that up into a final score altogether.
Because sometimes a 3.5 out of 5 stars isn't just meh. It could mean way more than that. We talk it out, weigh it out, and invite you to be part of the conversation.
You can score along with us using one of our rating systems posted on Instagram. Whether you're Team Star rating, Pizza Slice rating, or Nunchuck swinging approval, we got you covered.
So don't forget, like the video, comment your score for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and hit that subscribe button like you're Leonardo busting through a skylight.
Grab a slice, sit back, and let's get into this hard shell hero classic. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990 style.
But before we get too deep into the ooze, we've got someone special joining us tonight. A real radical dude from the Nightclub podcast, and someone who's just as passionate about horror, cult cinema, and weird pop culture as we are.
Please welcome the one and only Ricky! Ricky, what's up, man?
Howdy, y'all. I'm feeling good today, but my therapist stopped taking my calls, so I'm just a little nervous about what that might mean, and I'm feeling a little claustrophobic, and you guys are looking exceptionally handsome.
It's only because we're the first men you've ever laid eyes on.
Right.
All right, let's lay down some turtle trivia before we hit the scoring. So the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie was a massive hit. At the time, it was the highest grossing independent film ever made.
Yep, made on a budget of around $13.5 million and pulled in over $200 million worldwide. That's a lot of pepperoni.
Damn.
And speaking of budget, they got Jim Henson's Creature Shop to design the turtle suits. This was one of the last projects Jim Henson worked on before he passed away.
It shows, too. The puppetry in this is nuts. The mouth syncs up, the body movement feels grounded. Like, it's silly, but it's believably silly.
And it's way closer to the original comics than people remember. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles started in 1984, created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. And those early comics were pretty dark.
Exactly. Tons of violence and gritty black and white panels, and they all wore red bandanas. The colors didn't come until the animated series.
This movie does a great job blending the comics tone with the cartoons vibes. You've got the emotion and shadowy alley fights of the comic, but still has some of the pizza-loving Cowabunga charm from Saturday mornings.
Plus, we get Elias Koteas as Casey Jones, which, man, chef's kiss! A hockey stick wielding vigilante with long hair and rage issues? That's peak cinema! My kind of guy.
And don't sleep on the soundtrack either. There's that Turtle Power song and honestly some funky cues that just scream 1990. So now that we've tossed out the trivia like a well-placed manhole cover, let's start scoring this thing and figure out if the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie is a masterpiece in a half shell or just a pizza-fueled nostalgia trip.
Let's go, dudes!
Bitchin'.
All right, I want to hear. So this movie is pretty nostalgic, I think, for the three of us. That's why we're here. What is your earliest memory of this movie?
Well, I had it on VHS. I had all three of them as far back as I can remember. And I want to say like certain scenes, especially with like sound design and just the way certain things are shot, like absolutely are burned into my brain. Things that I thought I had forgotten, but I totally didn't. Like on this last rewatch, it's crazy how much of my inner child was present watching this the other night. And yeah, I mean, as far back as I can remember, I've been watching this. So
Johnathan,
sweet,
Johnathan, what's your memory?
man, I saw this when I was real little in like early elementary school back in like Knoxville, Iowa. And the neighbor kid, Ryan, behind me, man, he had the movies and I would watch them at his house. And like I saw the cartoon first and then saw the movies. Shit was kind of backwards because, poor family and all that. But
for sure.
It like, man, watching that back then and just the feel, like that's where I got my love of martial arts from. That and like the Karate Kid. Like that's one of those things like, ooh, so good, man. And just like the memories of everything that went along with that and Pizza Hut and this and that and all kinds of stuff that's all tangled up together. We'll talk about later. But
we can probably all blame our obsessions with pizza on this, right?
Oh, for sure. That and the early 90s book it or reading clubs where if you read enough books, you got pizza. Yeah.
Right.
I read lots and lots of books. I used to get lots of personal pan pizzas, bro.
Yep, I remember that. So
I was getting those stars on my buttons, man.
This movie was one that, surprise, surprise, I don't remember being allowed to see. I don't think I was allowed to see it because it was violent. There was a lot of action in it.
Oh.
So we had a neighbor, like Jonathan. Your neighbor had the movies. I had a neighbor who, when we went over to their house to play, I would see this movie. So I think at that time it might have been the third one that I saw more, but it still ingrained a love for the Turtles in me way back then, even if it was the widely considered worst of the series. But
oh yeah, the third is absolute garbage, but I love it anyway.
Oh, I can't wait. I
love how they get worse, like how the costumes just get worse. How the fuck does that happen, man?
I found
two. I thought was pretty awesome, but 3,
that's dope.
We had the third one on VHS when I was growing up, is like early teens in Southeast Arkansas. And my little sister, dude, if it wasn't Princess Bride, she was watching Ninja Turtles 3. Over and over and over. I'm like, have you had enough? No, yeah. And I'm like, give me a break.
But I love Princess Bride too, so.
Princess Bride is amazing, man.
It's so funny. I love that movie.
Yeah, it was those two and Major Payne. Like, those were the 3 VHSs she would watch over and over and over.
Yeah, I wear that VHS
Major Payne also, yeah, dude.
Thanks, Tara.
She better listen to this episode after such a glowing shout out.
I want to say, like, just some of the things, dude, like core memories were unlocked watching this, man. Like, but the ones that the scenes that really always stuck with me were when April O'Neil is drawing the turtles.
Yeah,
that image of Leonardo sitting in the chair next to Raph, her pulling water on her fingers and dripping it on Raph as he's recovering. The image of the turtles crying and fucking Splinter's right there in the fire, all ghost-like, all Jedi and shit, and having the main thing. The thing I always remembered the most is Casey Jones with the lever for the garbage truck when it goes, oops.
That was awesome.
Yeah, dude. Like there's just so many things that, like, probably when I'm old and senile, I'll still remember it. Like, I'll probably be telling people, you got to know what a crumpet is to understand cricket. You know, because that was another thing, dude.
So the story of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I don't know that it's fair to just judge the story of this movie without judging how original the story of the Turtles truly is, because it's fairly faithful to the comic book. The appearance of Shredder, I think, is a little bit earlier. I recently tried to read the original comics. I don't think Shredder was introduced as early. I could be wrong. He might have been the first issue.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I remember reading the omnibus for like the Ninja Turtles collection way back in Schaumburg.
Yeah.
But I don't remember much of it at the moment.
My comic collection was small and like spread out, so I had random stuff.
Well, and they recently relaunched the Turtle books with...
Oh, that's dope.
So it doesn't go from the beginning, but it kind of picks up. They're a little bit older. Jason Aaron is writing it right now, who pretty well-known writer. He wrote Thor for a really long time.
Nice.
It's been fantastic so far. The first 4 issues each focus on one turtle because they're all separated, but the art by Juan Ferreira is just insanely
gorgeous.
Good.
Yeah, looking at it right now, that's gorgeous, dude. The shadow volumes, the highlights, everything, dude, beautiful.
So if you're going to show off, I got to show off.
Yeah, okay, show off yours.
So the Usagi Yojimbo Ninja Turtles Complete Collection.
Ooh. Whoa.
Yeah.
Dude, that looks crazy. What is that? I mean, I know you just said what it is, but
all black and white.
It's like a manga. That's dope.
Yeah. And then there's like colored stuff in like one section in the middle of a colored story.
Okay.
Dude, I completely forgot that rabbit guy existed. You see, that's
one of my
so
favorite
cool,
characters.
Yeah, dude, he was cool as fuck, dude. That's why I love revisiting this type of stuff, dude.
That book.
Hell yeah.
I've got that downstairs. That book is one of the best graphic novels, period. The Last Ronin
and I have
is
all these I still have to read for the lost years of The Last Ronin. So extra stories. I still got to finish reading all those.
So,
but yeah.
Needless to say, we're decent turtle fans over here. Not diehards, but I'd say I'm a pretty decent turtle fan. But I gotta say, there's nothing else like the Turtles. Nothing else. Anthropomorphic animals, sure.
Street sharks, man.
Mutants, yeah.
Totally awesome.
But this idea of like the ooze spilling on some turtles in the sewer and turning them into like mutant human turtle hybrids that also, depending on what version you're reading, carry the spirits of Japanese ninjas from years ago. I think that's the later IDW revitalized version of it, when they're like their past lives. I don't remember if the original Eastman and Laird get into that, but I think the reboot does.
Well, The Last Ronin touches on that, like the later point where the brothers and Splinters are back in Japan with one of the clans trying to like make, reparations or trying to like cooperate again. And there's the one who is like, Mikey, who is away from everybody else while everyone else is guarding Splinter, and they all get taken out and he becomes the last. And that's where shit gets all crazy, Pretty amazing.
There's nothing
how they bring back that old stuff elements and Ninja.
It's not really a superhero comic, but it is deeply rooted in that, like, helping stop crime, helping people on the street. There's that street level element to it, and there's this mysticism to it that comes from the martial arts and the Japanese past lives and so on. And it's funny. Like, it's serious. It's got gritty moments. It's got funny moments. It's got this little bit of mysticism to it. And I just love the heck out of this. I can't think of, you can compare the superhero elements and the comedy to like maybe Spider-Man, but Spider-Man is still nothing like the Turtles.
Oh God, no.
Like it's still not even a fair comparison. I can't think of anything else like the Turtles. So I know I'm talking about the Turtles, but really that is this first film. This first film is that introduction. So the story of this, even we don't get a whole lot of we get a little bit of the depth of Shredder, don't we? We get those little flashbacks with the little puppets that are adorable.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think all of it fits. It's really pretty faithful to what is laid down in the comic books. So I gotta give them credit for that.
Oh, look, Domino's right behind you, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, product placement was confirmed, but Pizza Hut was still the majority marketer.
Yeah, yep. That's a Domino's box.
there you
I
go.
thought so. I thought so. I wonder if Pizza Hut came in for the later films, but I need to watch this.
They did marketing for the first one.
Okay.
20 million budget marketing that they did for this first movie.
I wonder
Maybe everyone got a little piece of the pie, huh?
Yeah, there we
I wonder if they
go.
went back and reshot it.
Good stuff. The story, it is crazy with the story, man. Especially like when they get those flashbacks to just Shredder and Splinter's old master. Was it Hamato Yoshi? And you see him like trying to learn from him, like who has a rat, as a pet, and then like that just going to try and mimic martial arts. That's awesome concept.
Right.
And despite all his rage, Splinter was still just a rat in a cage. But I appreciate all the different elements and how crazy the story was, because it's, despite all the things that we've seen in like here and there and different stuff, like the culmination of all these different elements together to make this amazing story. And with a fun family feel while still being serious, still kind of dark a little bit in parts of it.
Right.
They really made it so that this story had some appeal to just about everybody. And you got to love that, dude. I mean, Turtles was one of like the hugest things in the 90s. It was insane.
Right. Yeah, story wise, it's crazy how how much feels you get out of this, man. And honestly, like one thing that I didn't remember is Raphael's almost like the main character of the Turtles, right? If we're looking
He seems
at
like the main like anti-hero protagonist.
I would say so.
it seems like we follow Raph more than like the rest of them. I didn't remember that. It really felt more like Raphael's story to me. This
he's
watch.
the center for sure.
Well, he's always the one running off, being all hot-headed and getting into shit.
Right. Him learning to deal with things and whatnot. And I guess we'll get to characters later on, but story-wise, I feel like, is it like profound, like change your life? Like, no, but dude, like I was so engaged. There was a lot of stuff I remembered, but I couldn't remember how we got there. And dude, like I didn't pick up my phone once, Mm-hmm. I think that's I think that speaks as a testament to the story.
Yeah. So where does that put us at on our scores, gentlemen?
I'm hitting a 5.
I'm a 5 too.
I'm at a 4.
Okay. We actually have that handy little link on our Instagram where others can submit scores. We actually have scores from some others on this one. Our good friend David from Journey with a Cinephile, he gave it a 3. He's going off of memory. He said it's been a while since he saw it, so I'm going to forgive the low 3 there. And Travis, who was just on to talk about Howard the Duck and is part of the Nightclub podcast with Rick, he gave it a 4.
4? Oh, okay.
Yep. So, character, go for Ricky. You were talking about the character of Raphael and following that. You want to keep going with that train of thought?
Sure.
Since I put the brakes on it, now I'm telling you to go for it again.
No, you're good, man. And really, like I said, I guess it speaks to the story a bit too. But I feel like it's his character arc in a way. You could say it's his and Leonardo's. I mean, they all learn to work together and this and that, but Leonardo and Raph are the ones that butt heads the most, and Raph has to learn has to learn to accept help and accept, but it's the scenes where Splinter's talking to him, giving him the wisdom. And I
Yes.
see, I'm trying to talk about the cinematography now, unfortunately. Just the way that shit is shot, man, is so deep. And like, I can't remember exactly what he says, but I'm like, yeah, man, you're goddamn right, man. You better learn to...
Yeah.
You better learn to be part of the team, man. You better stop trying. It's the way he says it. He says that you're all going through this, but you are unique in the fact that you choose to go through it alone. And I don't know. I love his arc. I love his arc. I can't think of anyone else other than Splinter as really having an arc.
Okay. Yes. I actually wrote, I love that scene. I put it in my notes of Splinter talking to Raphael because it's also amazingly shot. That scene is mostly one long take of these two puppets having this in-depth conversation. Right. It's beautiful. It is so good. But I think Raphael is the biggest character arc for the Turtles, but there's also just a lot of depth to each of these, and we get that in that scene that you mentioned of April drawing the Turtles out, right. And she kind of examines each of them and how they're coping with the loss of their father figure. I also wrote down that this whole turn of events basically destroys April's life. Right. She gets fired from her job, and it's not the Turtles. She was onto the Foot Clan before the Turtles showed up. That's right. The opening shot of the movie is April like, hey, there's this crime syndicate, basically. So she gets fired, and then they show up, burn down her second job, which is a memory of her father, right. And her home. So her life gets flipped upside down. We never really get a moment to sit with that, but I'm not upset about that. But I also think that is my biggest complaint about the film itself, is that we have these great characters and these great stories, and when we defeat Shredder, it ends.
Right.
It ends. I don't know where's April going home to. We can assume with Casey Jones. We didn't.
Where does Casey live, man? In his truck?
We've seen him in the park. Yeah, we've seen him in the park.
He sleeps on the bench.
Yeah, we've seen him in the streets. We have no idea where he's at.
They must have not put in those spiky benches yet, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
Not in the 90s.
This was filmed in 1989. They still had the good benches for sleeping.
Yeah.
The same. He probably ran into that bird lady from Home Alone 2 a couple times.
Right.
But yeah, we have these great character setups, and I'm not mad that we don't get full resolution, because I think what this does so well is it makes me want to go pick up the comic book.
Right.
It makes me want to go read more, continue this story. But I still think as a movie, it ends too abruptly to wrap up, does Raphael learn to control his anger? Not really. In the end, he's going toe-to-toe with Shredder and getting mad about it. So, okay, Does April get a place to live? Not really, but she kisses Casey Jones, so there we go. We get
right.
So that is probably my only complaint about this film, is that it has fantastic character stories. We just don't really see a resolution to a lot of what has happened.
Right.
Okay.
No, that's completely fair.
So, yeah, Raph, I agree with you guys. Raph definitely makes takes the lead on this for the most part between him and Splinter. Donatello and Michelangelo, you don't really get much from them.
I remember there being so much more of them in the movie than there was, man. They're kind of just background almost.
Just about, there's so much banter back and forth that you get from Mikey and
Come
Donnie.
on, ninja kick the damn rabbit.
Right. So it would have been nice to get a little more involvement from them. As far as like the emotional set of it, they were just kind of there. You don't really get too much of an impact from them with that, except for like when Donnie's kind of bonding with Casey Jones, fixing up that truck at April's old upstate house in the country.
I was gonna bring that up too. Yeah, dude, I like that.
Mikey just kind of does whatever, but then you see Leo, who is so torn up that Raph is in such bad shape, and like his conflict with having to like figure out how to be a leader, how to keep them on the right path, and how to work together. And that's
how to accept him. Because he was like, "Fine, we don't need you, dude." Like, come on, man.
There's a lot of conflict between the two of them on that. So them kind of coming back together over, loss of Splinter and wanting to get him back. And then Splinter himself, like just hoping for the best for his boys, trying to teach them all that he can so they can be awesome and really help people. And seeing them come together, I think kind of is a big part of that growth arc for them. He gets that satisfaction as a father and as a master, as a sensei. Knowing that they're using what he taught them to do what's right and to back each other up. There's a big message in that with, as far as character development goes. Casey and April, that's just kind of like a fun little mishmash of story of love, picking at each other and goofing off and being kind of crazy, silly people. April, though, her life gets totally effed in the A, but at the end, though, she gets her job back and becomes the highest paid reporter in New York City. Right. And they're going to set her up with a new office and stuff while she figures out the rest.
That's right.
We could talk about Danny,
too. On that. Yeah.
That's right. How could I forget that she got the job back?
Little ginger shit thief Danny, that little bastard.
Right.
Holy cow.
He started off as a straight up hottie, dude. And now he's like, I'm Dan now, Dad. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a grown man. I'm such a young teenager who's fucking stealing from everybody and on the streets and shit. Which I can't really say shit about Danny because I had some sticky fingers when I was little.
He does give her the money. He does pay April back. He gives her money.
That's very awesome.
And I like the fact that she's like, what? And he's like, trust me, I owe it to you.
Right. You don't know this, but I stole some shit from you, also like everybody else.
I'm glad you brought that up.
A little bit of a come around.
I'm glad you brought that up because he really does have quite the arc in the film. And I was thinking that when I watched it, I just forgot to put it in my notes.
I forgot too when talking about it. I just thought of the boy. Because he's invested, but he's apprehensive in the foot. Like he's struggling with, is this the life that I want or not? And then after he sells out April's house and the Turtles location to them, I think that's really the turning point. Yeah. Where he's like, this is not who I want to be.
But can we blame him? The Foot Clan is running probably the coolest teen hangout in all of New York.
I was going to say that, man. Like
the child labor slave house?
Dude, if I could go back in time, I wouldn't be who I am today. I would be over there, man. I would be that pissed off bald guy by now, beating up on the kids.
They're in there. They've got the skateboarding, indoor skateboarding. The kids are smoking cigars. They're gambling at roulette tables.
Straight up,
hell, man.
Video games. I'm like, no wonder these kids never go home.
Right. The one punk dude was like playing bass and shit. Dude, yeah, man. They were, that's the hangout, man.
It looks awesome. Also,
you got Sam Rockwell as one of the thugs. He was kind of a shitbag early in the movie in his small bits, but then at the end he's like, okay, all right, here, I'll help you, bro. Like, here, come on, guys, here's some info. Just don't fuck with us, man. Just don't put us in jail.
When he came on, I totally forgot he was in this film. When he came on, I was like, that's Sam Rockwell. He's
right? He's like, oh. It's pretty cool, man. Yeah. And it's hard for, most people don't remember, but Corey Feldman voiced Donatello.
Yeah.
So, Corey Feldman is like a big draw for
I forgot that too. He was big in 1990.
Yeah, dude, yeah, late 80s, 90s, man. The Coreys, man.
Yep.
The two Coreys. Corey Feldman, Corey Haim.
And honestly, he does, before we get to the acting, he does a fantastic job because I didn't believe it when I saw it.
Right.
When I saw Corey Feldman, I was like, in the costume or the voice? You're kidding. And going back, I'm like, you know what? I do hear a little bit of it, but he really did a nice job. So anyways, Jonathan, were you done with the characters?
Yeah, that was it for me. So yeah, I was trying not to go off right there.
I was a 4. On the characters.
I went 5.
I went 3, but I'm coming up to a 4.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I'm coming up to a 4 because I forgot about Danny when I scored that, and I think Danny might have the strongest arc of everyone, honestly.
Well, I also want to say, though, but you got to remember, the Ninja Turtles, they are teenagers. And I think people kind of overlook that because of how adult the emotions and the feelings are sometimes.
For sure.
You know? And so, like, they're teenagers. Danny's a teenager. They're all trying to figure their shit out. You know?
They're all kind of coming of age together in a way.
Yeah, kind of coming of age story a little bit. Yeah.
I think they tend to forget the Turtles are teenagers because April looks 35.
Right.
The David gave it a 4, and Travis also gave it a 4 on the character. Music and sound design.
Bro, that fucking main theme, dude, when that shit came on, oh, dude, it was a bop. The whole movie, all the music, perfect. All the music is perfect. I'll wait to give my score, but I'm telling you, all the music in this film, including the end credits song about the Ninja Turtles and April O'Neil, perfect. I love it all.
I made my wife watch this with me. She's watched most of the Turtles movies with me. We went to see the animated one in theater. Was it a year ago now? It's not this, but I still really enjoyed it just because I like the Turtles and the animation was pretty cool. But she watched that one with me. She kind of has a soft spot because they're animals, even though she doesn't like all the action. But she liked this one and goes like, too many action scenes, but it was all right. But the song, the Turtle Power song that comes on at the end, she found on Spotify and has been playing it because it gets stuck in your head. It's a little earworm. It's a nasty. That song was everywhere growing up. I remember that song. And it sounds like a very 90s, late 80s hip hop song for sure. But I also just love the music throughout the film.
Yes.
Is kind of this rocky, sometimes we get a little synth in it. That's typical of that time period, but it sounds so good. I looked for the record after because I don't think the album's on Apple Music, but I was like, surely somebody has released a collectible vinyl of this.
Surely.
Because it is a good soundtrack. We got
to get introduced to Shredder, man. The music there is and the shot with the shadow from above, dude. Like, it's all so good, man.
It's Shredder's Suite, as it's called.
That's awesome.
So we got to figure out. We got to give credit to the composer of that film. So. The 1990 film, the soundtrack featured artists MC Hammer, High Tech 3, more. I'm trying to see who the actual composer was.
For which song?
Who?
Which one? Which song? For like the whole soundtrack?
For the score. I should have done my research and had this figured out. I'm gonna edit out this nice long pause here.
Okay.
Huh.
Soundtrack album by various artists, but it doesn't say much about score.
Composer. This music by Jean Duprez.
Yeah, you see him here in a couple of things.
Yeah. So don't know much about it, but it's a rock heavy soundtrack. Like, we're not getting beautiful strings here. We're getting some drums, some guitars, some nice little synth. One of the things that I greatly enjoy about this movie is how whimsical the music gets during the action scenes.
Yes.
First of all, I'm sure we'll talk about these action scenes are well choreographed for a kids movie to begin with.
Definitely.
They look great, and they look great 35 years later because it's actual men in suits doing the stunt work. It looks good. But to keep it from being like this heavy, dark action scenes, the music is almost comedic with what is going on screen. You have the turtles cracking jokes, and then you have this lighthearted music. The only time it gets super dark on a musical level is the Shredder fight at the end.
Right.
And when they are destroying the antique store and Casey Jones shows up and is like, "What are you doing to my friend there?" Oh,
right.
That scene gets me emotional. That scene is good. But he shows up there and he's like, "Wait, who's the babe?" And then never mind. But the music gets dark there for a second as it burns down. And it was such a dramatic shift from the whimsical music of the fight scenes to like, oh, things are intense now. And it's so well done. Not even to get into the the ADR has a couple moments when you're like, oh, that's definitely ADR. Obviously the turtles are ADR'd, but we'll talk about it with the special effects for sure. But with their mouth movements, I don't really think about it. It's more the couple scenes when they're like climbing out of the sewer and they're walking away that I'm like, their voices aren't going further away. They're still just nice and loud. So those are the couple. I paid too much attention to it. But those are a couple of moments that I'm like, oh, the ADR shows up, but it doesn't take me out of the film.
There's a scene
at all.
I almost died laughing when they're drowning Donatello in the fish tank. And then he comes back up and he spits water in someone's face. The sound effect right there is kind of like...
It's so good.
It's a little sound cue. Good. I love it,
dude. Yeah, there was cool stuff on this one for sure, man. I was looking at the soundtrack stuff, and it says the collection's made up mostly of hip hop and New Jack Swing. I've never heard that term, New Jack Swing. I didn't know what the hell that was. I had to look it up. Apparently, New Jack Swing, New Jack, or swing beat is a fusion genre of the rhythms and production techniques of hip hop and dance pop and the urban contemporary sound of R&B.
Interesting.
You can find as pop music usually performed by black musicians combine elements of jazz, funk, rap, rhythm, and blues, synthesized to sample beats. Yeah, there's a lot to it, man, with this description. I was like, I had no clue. For me, it was just some kick-ass music, you know?
Yeah.
And I loved every bit of it, man. Like, this shit just takes me back, man.
This makes me really wish I could find just the music to listen to it outside of the film. How differently would I hear it?
Oh, yeah. But I like as far as the sound design, man, like the sound effects that you get from all the fight scenes just was amazing to me. I loved it. All the clashes of blades and hitting the shell, dumping stuff, people getting thrown around, you know, just even like small things heads. Like, yeah, right. And like even like hearing Splinter or not Splinter, but Shredder fall into the dumpster truck, you know, all kinds of small things, man. There was a lot to go. Like I think
the music right there goes hard too, bro. When you get that shot of the blood and stuff as it's crushing, yeah, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. I would say. Well, who else got more to say? I don't know. Go for it.
That's it. I exhausted my words.
Okay, I was just going to go ahead and just say I give the music and sound design a 4.
Yep,
I give it a 5.
I was a 4. After I praised it so much, I was still a 4 because it does repeat a lot of the same themes over and over again. But
yeah, it does.
They're still really good themes. Really
they
good
are,
themes.
man.
but I was a 4. Travis was a 5 on music and sound design.
Shit.
And David was a 4. So then, all right, that leads right into the editing and special effects, where we talk about how that ADR with their voices matched up insanely with these puppeted mouths on
The articulation of the lip movement, dude. Like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Insanely awesome.
How did they do it? I mean, I'm sure I can find a documentary, but
these are some of the best puppets I've ever seen. Like guys are saying, the animatronics or whatever it is in the faces, like, it's incredible. Yeah. Like, the turtles, in my opinion, the turtles never look better than they do here. You don't get, it doesn't get better, man. Like, it's insane. No. Like, the skin the texture looks right. Like, they look like just the amount, like, just the right amount of, like, in between, like, dry and moist that, like, a turtle is normally, you know? Like, there's just so much about the detail of their costumes alone and the puppetry. And, like, you can tell that Splinter's basically always just a puppet that they're puppeteering off camera.
Those arm movements and stuff. Yeah.
But he's so good and it's designed so well that it never breaks immersion. Not once.
Nope. And I think for me and a lot of it, even with Splinter, the turtle, it's the eyes.
Yeah.
By having the eye movement and even just like the eyelids and the eyebrows, having that movement brings a level of reality to it that is insane. Can you see like the seam of the neck on some of the turtles? Yeah. Don't care.
Rarely. It's not a big thing to notice.
It doesn't bother me at all. I can see it. But that level, I put it in my notes. There's that scene when they come back and Splinter has been taken and Raphael gets mad and the camera spins around him while he's like emotional. Mm-hmm. But they got all of that emotion on his face, on a puppeted face. You can read the emotions. It is insane. And that scene is just, I also put that I like the comedy of he's screaming and upset and it immediately cuts to a guy stepping over a sewer grate and hearing the scream and like looking at the grate in my notes. It immediately cuts to like this really heavy dark moment and then immediately has a joke that does not ruin the moment at all, but is like, hey, somebody would probably hear that and they acknowledge that. But it's just so good. I can't praise the puppetry enough. And then to see these puppeted faces in full body suits going toe to toe with ninjas in fight scenes is fantastic. Yeah. It's awesome. It's awesome.
That's another thing. The choreography never feels lazy or shitty. You know?
No. Even with the suits that they have, they don't really seem like they're hampered that much by it. Right. Like they still have the sense of articulation and movement that they need to really make those moves happen.
And even though you can tell, like, because you know a lot of the action scenes, like particularly at the beginning of the big fight in the goddamn antique shop, is very slapsticky, you know, for the comedy element. Mm-hmm. Even though you have that, you can tell that like for the rest of the fights where they're choreographed, like it's real martial artists that are right here, you know, performing, you know, in the turtles and in the foot, you know, costumes. Yeah. It's so good. It's surprisingly good. Going back and watching it.
Speaking of real martial artists, I love that nunchuck scene.
Yeah, dude.
That
a fellow chucker.
A fellow chucker, yeah. And then they have the chuck off. I love that.
Just two dudes chucking off at an antique store, you know? Nothing quite like it, bro. Just chucking away.
Just careful it doesn't get too claustrophobic in there.
Man, one other thing though, like for the special effects stuff, like when April, like after like April's saved and they're bringing her back home, and she's talking like, oh, she mentions like frozen pizza. They have that speed shot where Mikey shoots up out of the sewer hole, and his face, like the movement of the face so fast. Did you say pizza? Like, and the way everything in the face moves when he has that freak out spaz moment over it.
Yeah,
I was like, oh shit, that kind of got me for a second. Like, oh man, it's like it really boom in your face really quick.
It
was crazy awesome.
I love that whole exchange between that scene and then they're walking away and she's like, well, what do you guys like on your pizza? And he's like, flaws and stigma.
Right.
It's just kidding. We like normal things. It's so good. So I can't give this movie anything less than a 5 for editing and special effects. Because also, I have to say, we didn't even talk about the editing, but the editing in these fight scenes is better than some of the editing I've seen in fight scenes today.
Definitely. The back and forth between like the banter of them talking, oh, Raph's just out, he needs to blow off some steam, and then it shows him fighting or getting his ass kicked, or oh, he might drop in any minute, and then boom, he comes through the dude. Like, so the editing
right
here is so good, man.
Yep.
Beautiful.
It's perfection. Honestly, I don't know that I could watch this and say, oh, they could do that better. Anybody who comes in here and says a CGI turtle would be better than what we got, may I show you the 2014 version? They tried it.
They're not better in the new version with the CGI. They can eat my ass. It's not better.
Yeah.
It's cool, but it's not better than this.
Exactly.
Practical.
It's not better than this. So,
Practical effects, man.
5 as well.
5.
It's a 5 for Travis.
Table.
It's a 5 for Travis and a 4 from David, just because it's been a long time. He hasn't seen it. He doesn't remember.
If he would revisit it, dude, I bet you he'd be like, holy shit, look how good this is, man. You know?
Yeah. He said,
dude, for real.
He said in his notes, he said, been a long time since I've seen this, so I'm going off memory. I was a massive fan growing up. I know it's darker than I expected. So that's what he wrote. So, but yeah, editing and special effects were pretty much 5s across the way. Script here. So I'm going to jump in on something. Was it what Johnathan was talking about earlier? Or maybe it was Ricky. I don't remember. We're talking about Splinter sitting with Raph and talking about controlling his anger.
Yeah, that's Rick. He was talking about that.
Okay. I put that down because I was like, not only is this movie consistently funny, consistently engaging, like genuine laughs, genuinely interested in these characters, but it is also back in the day when we weren't afraid to provide a genuine lesson for the kids watching this.
Right.
Yeah.
About, like, Splinter is sitting there giving good advice about controlling your anger. You know, don't give into it. Learn how to use it, channel it. And I'm like, this is good stuff for kids. I needed that growing up. I had anger issues. I still do. Just ask my wife. That sounds bad.
Yes, you seem like such a nice
guy. But there's also that moment when Splinter teaches us. Most of the teaching comes through Splinter because he's the adult figure. But there's that moment when he, without saying it so much, and actually he does say it in words, that sometimes the misunderstood enemy, in this case it's Danny, sometimes just needs somebody to listen. And that is teaching without preaching it, that not every conflict is going to be solved with fists, you know, and it's so good. It's not preaching it at you. It's not beating you over the head with it. Splinter is held captive and Danny is like, I might have done this. And Splinter's like, what's going on? Like, tell me. And it's a beautiful scene. So I love that it's consistently funny. I love that it carries good lessons, moral, valuable lessons with it. And it's an engaging from beginning to end. So this script, it's a knockout for me, but
Hell yeah, dude. Like, I love the banter with the way they wrote it. There's so much fun little banter back and forth between everybody in different directions. And I love all the jokes that they wrote into it and how it all plays out. But like what you're saying though with Splinter though, like the sensei lessons, you know, with Raph and Danny and even like all four of them when he's all Jedi ghost over the fire, you know, phosphorus. Which I don't even know why we didn't even talk about that in the special effects. I can't believe we've passed on that.
That was good stuff.
But
it looks
retroactively.
Right. But yeah, that was like some of the biggest part of it was just those sensei lessons, you know, even though it's done in like a fatherly way, you know, and like the way that connects with a lot of people, I think is pretty rad, you know. But yeah, just like the back and forth between all the different characters, especially like I said earlier, Casey Jones and April, like their little back and forth tete-a-tetes, you know, with picking at each other and how that evolves into something is cool, man. There's so many like fun little one-liners and like how throughout the movie, like they're, you know, someone like, what was that thing? Like Donnie's maybe like trying to figure out his kind of special catchphrase kind of thing. It's like, Nova, Chevy Nova?
Chevy
you know,
Nova.
And it's like, I've always liked Cowabunga. You know, like, you know, just crazy little one-liners and stuff, you know. But yeah, God. Oh man, what was it also the thing where they're waiting for the pizza guy to show up with the Domino's pizza? And he like parts his like words of wisdom, you know, like never pay full price for pizza. I can't remember what the first part of it was.
It's the way he's sitting there with that popsicle stick and he's like, pizza guy's got 30 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah, well, Leo's trying to be all deep in conversation with him about, you ever imagine if like Splinter wasn't here? And he's just like, oh, let's just talk about pizza again.
Right.
It's like, bro, what the hell, man?
Oh, and I love the
big date with you, bro. Oh no, pizza time.
I can't remember the specific address, but it's, you know, such and such, and an eighth.
Yeah.
They have like an eighth.
Where's the eighth? What?
He's like, an eighth? What is that? You're standing on it, dude.
It's he's a wise man say, forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, when during the fire in the shop and Casey Jones shows up and I think Mikey's like, is that Wayne Gretzky on steroids? You know? I was like, yeah, dude. There's so many good one-liners in here.
Definitely.
And we've indirectly quoted it and referenced it multiple times, but we cannot forget Donatello's "You're claustrophobic." Casey,
you get all insecure about it.
Casey immediately, "You want a fist in the mouth? I've never even looked at another guy before."
Right.
April has to like clarify for him, like, oh, okay.
It's so good.
Yeah, man.
Kind of liked it when like April. There's that one part though after everything burns down and they escape to the house out in the country, and you've got like the inner monologue from April going on through that whole set, talking about what they're going through and how everyone's trying to fix everything to come together. Like that whole string of dialogue there was pretty cool, man. So that had really added some more like an extra set of depth to what's going on in the story. So you got to kind of appreciate that. I just kind of like it how like not just with Domino's, like you get other weird little like offhand product placements, even if it's not meant to, where she's talking about like when all four of them are get back together and she's like, oh, it's such a Kodak moment. You know, Kodak was like a big product then as well. I'm not sure if it really relates to it like that. I kind of felt it like that.
Did you catch the other product placement towards the beginning of the film that we're actually going to be talking about later in our season? Raphael standing in his trench coat right before he meets Casey Jones. And what movie is playing at the theaters?
Critters. You see the poster and I saw it. I was like, oh my God, Critters, dude.
Yep.
He walks away and he's like, who comes up with this stuff? Huh?
Yeah.
I was sitting there like, shut your mouth, Raphael. That was a great movie, bro. Like, no.
And I love this is the last one I got. I mean, we can just quote the whole movie because it's so good. But in that scene, I'm pretty sure it's that scene when he's chasing the thugs into the park, and he rolls over that cab, and the passenger comes up from the back and, what the heck was that? And cab driver, looked like a sort of big turtle in a trench coat. And then they just move on. Like, it's so casual. It's so good. Yeah.
I've got one more.
Okay.
When the Foot catch up to April to kidnap her, and dude's like, I have a message.
Yes.
Pulls out his open palm and then slaps her. I was like, what the hell, dude?
This whole scene got me, man, because they pop up out of nowhere, and she says, what is my Sony account late?
It's my
And
Sony
he says, your mouth will get you in trouble. I deliver a message. And he does the thing, and it's like, shut it, dude. Intense. Yeah, dude. That's another thing that I always remembered from this movie, man. Like, that dude slaps the crap out of her. It's a cutaway, but,
Yeah.
still counts.
It does. It does. I'm a 4 on this script, man. This script is tight. It is a good script. Actually,
Same.
a 4 technically means it's a great script. So
I'm coming up to a 5 because
Damn. Okay.
yeah, I'm still because
Good
I've
job.
still got shit I want to say from the script. And
all right,
Go for it.
you can say it.
I also want to mention that I consider the script to be like also the flow of the story and how it's told and everything.
Yeah.
And there is just it's not like as tight as it could be, but because I do feel like there's a little bit of slack or slog in the second act. But dude, it's never boring. Like I said, I'm bad for picking up my phone during movies, even movies I've never seen. And this one, I never did. I never even thought about it. So I'm gonna give it that 5, and I think that's gonna be all I have to say about it.
All right.
It's beautiful, bro.
I had some other lines that I wanted to bring up, but that's good. They're good.
They're also good.
Yeah.
Jonathan,
4.
4. Travis was a 4, and David.
Wait, no, sorry. Wait. Yeah, 4, yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
That was the
And
wrong thing.
David was a 5.
Oh, right.
No, he wasn't a 5. Sorry, he was a 3. I was looking at Ricky's.
I've got the chucking scene coming on my side. Not yours.
We're at the house.
Yours has already passed. I can play on my TV too.
All right, so the acting in this movie, I mean, like you said, I didn't know it was Corey Feldman. So I had to go back and on second watch be like, oh yeah, that was Corey Feldman. I recognize it now. But that's what I want out of voice acting.
Yeah.
I don't want my voice acting to sound like, unless you're Nick Cage playing Spider-Man Noir in the Miles Morales thing, because it's perfect in that situation. I typically don't want to know that Nick Cage is voicing somebody in the movie. I want to hear it acted. And these guys doing this in this film are pretty freaking great at the turtle voices. Also, April, she didn't come back for the second movie, and I want to know why.
Right.
Judith Hogue playing April. Did Elias come back as the second? Did he come back in the second one?
I believe so. I know he's in the third one.
Okay. So then he was most likely back for the second one. But Josh, why don't I know? Raphael's voice is Josh Pace.
Sure.
I really don't recognize his face. I don't. There is not a whole lot. It looks like he's done a lot of TV stuff. But yeah, they're all great in this film. They deliver the emotional moments when they need to. They deliver the comedy really well. That's one area we all know that I've talked about. I don't react to comedy the same way as other people. I find very different things funny. And this movie manages to be funny, and that's partially the enthusiasm of the cast in delivering their roles. They're not thinking about the fact that they're grown men dressed in turtle suits, slinging these lines and doing these stunts. They genuinely deliver it, and it's a believable experience. And great job.
I wonder if the aid, like all the voice acting was probably done by the Turtles after the fact, right? Like after the visual recording.
Oh, I would think so. Yeah, during the ADR process.
Yeah,
Which makes me wonder. That's typically backwards. Because typically you do your voice so that the mouth can match up on camera.
right.
For animation. And like that was actually part of the issue with the Howard the Duck movie, was they were doing the ADR after. I still want to say they probably had to do the ADR after on this, but they got the mouths to match up really well. So I don't know.
Really well. Yeah, that's why I'm wondering about it.
Yeah, they could have done all the turtle lines before, but then the physical performance with it, like, it's just such a whole picture type of thing that I never really think about the fact that it's ADR when I'm watching the turtle talk. I'm believing that turtle is talking.
Right.
Yeah. Even though as an adult, I'm fully aware that it's a person in a suit, it's being puppeted, whatever. It's just so tight. It's so good.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, you gotta give respect to the actors for that and like how they managed to make those work together. Just kind of like they did with Howard the Duck, between the actual live actors, dudes in suits with moving mouthpieces and stuff, and trying to keep that in sync to it. Man, that's tough, man. That's tough. Maintaining that flow of dialogue and everything as you're doing the scene and everything. I think they did a great job, man. Between Elias and Codius and Judith Hogue, man, I think they did a really great job on that.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say like a lot of the background acting, and even some of the acting at the forefront is very cartoony as well, but not in a way that breaks the immersion. You know what I mean? This is what you expect. The fucking chief of police guy that's like, "Are you telling me how to do my job?" Like that. Yeah, that's straight out of a cartoon, but this is the Ninja Turtles movie, so of course you have that. And April's reaction to seeing the Turtles and Splinter for the first time is iconic. It's priceless. That squeak when she starts to freak out, that squeak that she does. Yeah, dude.
I actually put that in my notes too, that April waking up and seeing Splinter and the Turtles is hilarious. That's what I wrote. And then I had to look up. The actress was 27.
Wow.
She was 27 when this was filmed. Which, I mean, she does look... this is one of those things that I see on the internet that George in Seinfeld was 32 or something in Seinfeld, and he's balding and whatever, and that
at him.
Aging today is very different than aging in the 90s. In 90s, 30 was adult, and now it's 30s are just grown teenagers. So I don't know, but this was one where I was looking at it she's 27 and she looks 30 something. So
this scene here playing behind you always struck me as really awkward, where he's rubbing her shoulders and she's no, stop, and then he shoves her into the chair and makes her sit while he rubs her shoulders.
You're getting this rub down, girl.
Damn, Casey, chill, bro.
Today.
Yes. Yeah. Chill, bro.
Turtle axe.
Yeah, dude.
Nice. A lot of good Bill jokes, man.
All right, so the acting. Go ahead.
Bad.
Go for it.
You bet it.
I would say, all things considered, I'm not going to say it's perfect, because it doesn't feel perfect, but I'm going to say it's great. I'm going to give it a 4, man, because between the voice acting and all the very serviceable cartoon acting and the little bit of something extra that we get from our main cast that are not in the suits, hell, dude, Danny, Shredder, the bald Charlie Brown guy beating all the kids, like all of them are so fun, dude. I love them.
Master
April?
Tatsu.
Tatsu, yeah.
I forget
They're
about
all great.
the Charlie Brown guy.
Yeah, man. Bald, scary Asian guy is one of my favorites. He was always one of my favorites as a kid. I was like, look at that scary man, bro.
He just beats the crap out of Casey Jones in the third act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, looks like they had a voice actor for him too.
Really?
Yeah, because there's Tatsu as Toshishiro Obata, and then Michael McConaughey as the voice for Tatsu.
Huh.
Okay.
Damn, that sounds racist. It sounds like they got a Japanese man to play the character, which is obvious, and then they got a white person to do the voice.
Well, there's two voice actors for Shredder too.
Yeah, to be fair, there's a voice actor for Shredder.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
Well,
that's a trip. Okay.
Yeah, David McCarran was the voice of Shredder, and James Sato was the Shredder.
Okay.
So that's
Hey.
casting in the 80s was different.
Definitely. Yeah. Hey, man, they made a whole white woman into a Hispanic woman in Aliens. So, good luck with that shit today.
True. But like you said, I'm going to go acting. It's a 4 for me.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I'm sitting at a 4. For sure.
And Travis is a 4. David is a 3 on that one. So the direction here. This one, man, I'm really tempted. I'm really tempted to give this one a 5, to be honest, because just the way we've talked about how everything came together on this film. If one of these elements hadn't have worked, this film would not be as remembered as it is today. It could have easily gone the route of Howard the Duck, where it's more of a cult classic. Some people hate it. Some people love it. It's not, not widely regarded as a great film. This film works from the musical elements to the action scenes. The set pieces are fantastic. The Foot Clan's hangout is awesome.
Yeah,
the streets of New York are awesome. The sewer sets are awesome.
Incredible.
It all works so good. And then we get great performances. My one complaint about the movie is that when they go to that house, it does slow down quite a bit. It
slows down. It hits yeah.
Yep. It hits the brakes pretty hard. We get some nice emotional character development there.
Right.
That kind of like we're healing from getting our butts kicked and then we're going to come back whole. But that's my one complaint about it. But I mentioned like one of the scenes I got to praise is, I said it way back earlier, but there's that long shot of Splinter talking with Raph, and that camera is moving around these two puppets and zooming in on these two puppets talking to each other. It's treating them like actors, not puppets. And that happens throughout a lot of this film. The director treats what is on screen as genuine actors, especially, Splinter's usually the only one that's solid puppet. But because the director views it that way with his eye, the way he sets up scenes, we believe it that much more.
Right. I never realized until this watch, not to cut you off.
No.
I never realized that till this watch that Splinter was not a guy in a suit.
Yeah.
Never. And I think that speaks to what you're saying. The guy treats everyone like a character, like an actor.
Yeah. It's fantastic. And Ricky mentioned earlier that introduction shot of Shredder that is like Darth Vader level of awesome.
Yeah, dude.
Man, it is just really well done to put together these choreographed fight scenes that just look so good for people in costumes. And I'm not talking like Captain America costumes. We're talking like padded with animatronic helmets, like insane costumes. It's awesome. He did so good bringing this all together and making it work. It is no wonder that 90s children everywhere lost their minds at this movie.
Right.
Like I get it. I get it.
For sure.
So that's my 2 cents on the direction. I don't think there's a particular flair. You know, it's not an Ari Aster film. It's not whatever, pick a director. It's not a Denis Villeneuve film. There's not a visual look that is a cue of this director. It is just that this director was competent enough to succeed in making this film work. Steve Barron is the director's name. We should praise Steve Barron. He's not exactly a stranger to big movies. He directed, he worked with the Merlin TV series in the 90s, if you remember those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He has also done a lot of TV. There's a lot of TV connections to this. I'm trying to see. He did some Michael Jackson music videos. He did Coneheads.
Nice. Oh, shit.
Fucking love that movie, dude.
The Adventures of Pinocchio. A lot of music videos as well, which explains the great music and timing. I find a lot that music video directors have impeccable timing with their films. They know how to make that work. Yeah, I mean, there's not really... I mean, David Bowie, Aha, Culture Club, ZZ Top, Supertramp, Bryan Adams. He directed a ton of music videos, more so than movies. 1983, the dude was just pumping out. He did the Billie Jean music video, Madonna Burning Up.
Oh, shit.
Toto, Kenny Loggins, Joe Jackson. He directed the Africa by Toto.
Fuck Toto, dude.
The Human League, Fleetwood Mac. I mean, his resume is mostly music videos. So I'm impressed by this film. This film is, he pulled it off. He did a bang up job doing it.
I wouldn't be able to say anything better than the way you just said it, man. Like, to make this shit work as well as it does. I was 37 years old when I realized that a movie I've seen all my life and known about all my life, that Splinter wasn't a dude in a suit. So, yeah, this guy definitely knows how to... He knows how to make it work, but he knew he had a vision. He knew how to make that vision work and how to sell it like perfectly. And like you said, the timing and everything, like everything is so, especially the first half of the movie, it's just so like bam, 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 like it never lets up. Yeah. And I don't know if I want to put, I mean, like we talked about the sets and stuff. Like, I know it's not necessarily his style, but like this movie has such a style to it, in my opinion. Just the seedy New York fucking thing, man. Everything's dark. Those shots of Mikey skate, or was it Leonardo? One of them skateboarding in the sewers is one of my favorite things ever. You know, dude, I was at a 4, but I'm coming up to a 5. So there you go. You convinced me.
I really like the beginning, like the intro shots to the movie where you see bustling New York just on an average day. Everyone getting around, hoofing it, traffic, mad dash, cap, everyone trying to do their thing, get to work, do a job, deliveries here. And then you see, like, as the story goes and you hear April, you know, giving her report over the news thing, you know, the stuff getting lifted from the truck, you know, and you see a guy getting just getting pickpocketed just out of passing by, and then the
Danny
exchange
hands it off to the foot soldier guy.
Pass, and then Danny's just like back here, like guy grabs it, like that whole sequence of shots and how that sets the tone for what you're to expect in the movie. I think was really cool. I think it was a great way to start the film.
There's one shot in particular.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's one shot in particular in this beginning section where you see April talking about the foot and all the crime going on multiple TV monitors at a time at once. And like, there's just little things like that where I feel like the director was kind of maybe flexing a style or just, experimenting, because who would, like, what else are you going to do with it? He says, oh, well, hell, I'll just put it on 3 different screens in frame and there'll be different sizes placed in different spots, I feel like there's a little bit of style there. It's cool.
You mentioned like the 3 different screens. I did put it in my notes. You knew that an 80s villain was going to be bad news based on how many TVs were stacked in his lair. Because that like first scene of Shredder, there's just TV everywhere, and he throws that knife into it. I'm like, yeah. This guy's going to be bad news.
Right.
But yeah, and I'm actually, while we were talking, I'm thinking like a music video director makes sense for martial arts movies because it's not that different than filming dancing.
Right. Choreography
not really.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, it's all choreography. You got to hit the right cues at the right time. You gotta pull it off, and it makes a lot of sense. You making me want to change my score, but I think I'm gonna go a half. I'm gonna go 4.5 on this.
Word.
I'm hitting a 4 on it.
Okay, and then Travis was a 4, and David was a 3. So the it factor, we've kind of danced around the it factor all night, but this...
May I?
Yeah, go for it. This it factor was actually not hard. So.
No, it's really not. No. It's really not. When it comes to it factor or cultural significance and impact, there's a lot here. There really is. This is a time where martial arts is like slowly starting to become a little more well known across the country, and this film really helps set the tone to inspire other people to get mixed into that, as well as just the love of Ninja Turtles and the whole franchise and all the other stuff that came with it and the marketing and the toys. Like myself, man, like I said earlier, this is one of those films that really got me into loving martial arts.
Hell yeah, dude.
First 3 black belt, National Karate Schools of Chicago.
Bro's got the gi on,
multiple championships, 2011, 2013 heavyweight, 1829 division grand champion, the AKA Grand National Chicago. A couple other tournament stuff, Well, as you've seen, I've got some nunchucks. I've got swords. I've got bow staff for training. I had no bow forms. I know some Bankai sword form.
My dad's a bow staff guy too.
But I do have a pair of training kama.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
And then on top of that, what we've already shown, all of this, all this stuff, all these different things that come about
right
from the creative minds because of what's inspired from this as a franchise and how that affects so many people. Like, and all the different stuff's come about. How could it not have a cultural impact? It's super massive, and it's not just here in the United States. There's a love for it worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
The Ninja Turtles has such a huge impact. It's super saturated, and I think it kicks ass. And I'll let you guys say whatever you want.
I feel like it's because of this movie and the toys. Maybe the cartoon as well.
Yeah.
Overall, but it's this movie and the toys, man. Like, I had so many fucking Ninja Turtles. It was ridiculous, dude. I had ones that didn't even make sense. Like, I never saw them in any comic, in the cartoon, or nothing. They had like this lion guy who was like a King Arthur type knight dude, and I'm like, well, how does that make sense? Fuck it, it's a Ninja Turtle. Get it? My dad is a 3rd degree black belt in Taekwondo, and later on he did some Hapkido and some other stuff too.
I want to try Hapkido or Aikido.
I think he did Aikido as well. there's a Japanese sword form that he did. I can't remember the name of it. Also, so martial arts was always like a big part of like relating to my dad as well. And I tried Taekwondo, but I was too young and I didn't care, so I didn't get it. I didn't get far. I rack discipline, but
you rack a discipline.
I rack a discipline very much. Dishonor. So, but like this movie, man, like goddamn, it's just burned into my brain. I know it's burned into everyone else's my age. If you don't love it, you've definitely fucking seen it, man. Anybody can quote at least one line from this shit, dude. Like this is a 5 cultural impact in my opinion. So there you go.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I just remember growing up, like I was 0 when this film came out. I was born in 89 and this came out in 90.
Yeah.
However,
83.
I remember all of my early life, the Turtles were everywhere.
Oh yeah, dude.
Because
many iterations.
Yes. 1, 2, 3 came within 3 years of each other, which is insane. Nowadays we have like 6 years between sequels, and then Robert Pattinson's the youngest Batman ever, and then his second movie he's the oldest Batman ever, and it's just absurd. Yes. But to do that, to be everywhere, I seem to remember them with fast food. I don't know. I was like 6. I don't remember exactly.
McDonald's had the toys, man.
Okay. Yeah. See, I remember all of these things. I remember the Turtles everywhere. And I remember just having this fascination with them, even though I wasn't allowed to watch the movies yet because there was too much action. Mm-hmm. I loved it. And they were everywhere. And for this movie, we said at the beginning, but this is where it's worth noting, this was the highest grossing independent film until the Blair Witch Project.
That's so crazy, dude.
Really?
Yes.
Blair?
It was 135 million at the domestic box office and 66 in the foreign on a budget of under 10.
Shit.
Just some other cool things. Robin Williams was a huge fan of the comic books and provided Judith Hoag, who played April, provided her with information to play her character from his personal collection.
Nice.
The guy in the back of the cab who said, "What was that?" when Raphael rolls across it, is the actor who plays Raphael.
Oh, no way. I thought he looked familiar in the face.
Well, yes. So each of the people in the suits has a scene outside of the suit in the film.
Nice.
Michelangelo is the guy who delivers the pizza. Leif Tilden, the guy who plays Donatello, is the foot messenger that slaps April.
Nice.
And the guy who plays Leonardo is one of the gang members in the warehouse.
Nice.
Wow.
So
that's cool.
Originally, Jim Henson was not the first idea for this film. The original idea for this film was going to be the same approach that was used for Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where they would be interacting with animated turtles. But they then pursued Jim Henson, and he was up for the challenge. He unfortunately died a month and a half after its release.
Damn,
which is
dude.
Probably why the Turtles went downhill in design.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Could be.
Disguising how... I should have brought this up in the special effects, because how you pull this off is insane to me and make it so seamless. The Turtles were slow. The costuming, the puppetry was slow. So to make it look normal, dialogue scenes were shot at 23 frames per second and then played at 24 frames per second. so that they moved faster. And for the same reason, you can tell it a little bit more in these fight scenes, but some of the fight scenes were shot at a slower frame rate and sped up. I did notice that a couple times. But we did mention the Foot Clan's hideout was used as Dino-Hatton in Super Mario Bros. From 1993. But also, you guys here will appreciate it was the Top Dollars nightclub in The Crow, 1994.
Oh, wow.
Hey, love The Crow. One of my favorite films of all time.
That's the same place.
Love it.
But yeah, this was just insane. It was a cultural phenomenon. And then to get 2 more sequels immediately after is success. That you guys already gave your score on it, didn't you?
I'm a 5 all day, every day on It Factor, bro.
Yeah. This is one that we are actually, all 5 of us, unanimous. It's a 5. Everybody remembers the Turtles was a phenomenon. So how entertained you were.
Well, before we get there, I want to say this movie also had a huge impact on my psyche because it's probably April O'Neil's fault that I have such an obsession with legs. So there you go. I'm just going to put that out there.
I can't imagine what you're referring to.
It's too funny, dude.
I'm just going to say, I mean,
That's okay, man.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. She looking good in some shots, man. Judith Hogue, we rocking it, bro.
Let's show.
All right. So then, how entertained were you out of 10? This is your nightclub score, Ricky. This is the nightclub score.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Let's check it out. My bad. I don't have it pulled up already. Dude, yeah, I have it at a 9, but talking about this just, dude, I think I was a little too critical on it. I'm going to give it that 10.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it that 10, dude. I didn't pick up my phone, man. I'm gonna give it that 10, man.
Gotta dig that.
Okay, for me, it's a 10. I always say, am I willing to put this on again immediately? The one caveat here is that I might go right into the second one.
Right, for sure.
But that's what this movie makes me want to do. I want to stay in this world. I finished the movie and picked up a Turtles comic because I love it that much. It's a great film. I think it's one of my favorite comic book adaptations ever. Because
that makes sense.
It does what a good comic book movie should do, and it makes you want to go back to the source. It makes you want to dig in no more. And that is successful. So, yeah, for me, it's a 10.
10s all day, bro. 10s all day.
Nice.
10s all day.
Okay.
What about the others?
You're just going to say it's a 10, Jonathan?
I don't really need to say much. I've already spazzed out and been like, look at me, look at all my shit, look at how awesome this is, and how much I love this movie. How many times I've seen number 3, and like how much I love the franchise, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, man, dude, it's just a kick-ass set. I think it's something that everybody should be able to watch and have fun and share with one another, and maybe it might inspire somebody else to get into the martial arts, and maybe some of those aspects of the Ninja Turtles themselves might rub off on people,
Yeah.
It's fucking kick-ass shit. So I'm all for it, man.
So Travis also gave this a 10, and he said, I don't want to take up too much time by explaining all my scores, but to be fair, they are ratings based off of memory. I didn't have time to rewatch, but he says, but I will say this, for as much love as I gave Howard the Duck, this gets 10 times that.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yep. I do think it's interesting we're doing these back to back. They're both comic book adaptations.
Yeah.
They're both puppetry in film. I was going to say late 80s, but Howard the Duck was not late 80s. But one of them was significantly more successful than the other.
Right.
And I do think it is interesting to see why. And it's definitely not like this movie was criticized for being a little too dark, but I think you got to have that darkness to see some of the humor, to get some of the levity, to appreciate the lightness too. Otherwise, it'd be too fluffy. I love having that heaviness to it. I think it's an interesting comparison going from Howard the Duck to this one, and it was unintentional. Both of these movies were not on our regular schedule. Johnathan and I were messaging and like, hey, you want to switch it up? Yeah, okay. And we did. So
Nice.
Back to our regular programming in 2 weeks. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that I have all that much more to say. My final score out of the 50 is 45.5 or 4.5 stars out of 5 on this film.
Oh, my total is a 46.
So you're 4.5 as well.
I think my total is a 46 as well.
So
Look at that lineup.
And Travis is a 45, and David is a 37. So that's 3.5. But really, that average comes out to 43.9 or 44 or 4.5 stars. So basically, this movie is going to be a hit with a group of people. I think, Ricky, you said earlier, like, there's something in here for everybody. Even my wife didn't hate it, and that's a win.
I thought you said that, but I agree with it for sure. Like, everybody.
Me that said it.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. Jonathan said it. Somebody said it. But yeah.
No, it's actually one thing I forgot to joke about earlier when Splinter's telling the whole story to Danny, I think it was, about his past and like his master, Hamato Yoshi, and how like him and Shredder, Oroku Saki, were fighting, and they fought fiercely over the love of a woman.
Yeah, they did.
Her name was Tang Shin. Master Yoshi was getting that sweet Tang, bro.
Oh, no.
That Tang had them boys acting crazy, dude.
It's so bad. It's so bad. I had to put it
Had
out
them
there.
boys acting up, ball.
That sweet Tang Shin. Yeah.
I didn't even mention how I wanted to talk about those flashback scenes.
Yes.
I love
so
the way they
good.
were filmed. Almost entirely black, like it was a puppet show.
No extraneous details. Nothing to distract from the point.
No sets, nothing. It was the light, our focus, and some puppets on there. It was a great choice. So well done. So, Ricky, you have any final words? Yeah,
iconic, that scene. I mean, and for the whole film.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, that shit's crazy. This is something that I grew up with, man, and I'm glad I got to revisit it. I probably wouldn't have revisited it for a long ass time if not for this episode. So I'm glad to be here. And
I'm glad you did.
Yeah, man, it's been a blast.
It's always fun having you on, dude.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'll come
I
back.
don't think we have you scheduled for any of our other episodes. You gotta fix that.
All right, yeah.
I still got to get on the nightclub podcast. I still
send
have
me
not
a
my
list.
ass on it.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, Jonathan, we got to get. I still want to get all of the nightclub on an episode with us.
True.
I don't care if it's 6 hours long.
You sure about that?
I just want to have a party. Maybe we'll just set up a live stream party with all of them.
Maybe I'll come
figure it
down to
out.
you guys in Louisiana and we can just all get together and then just stream with Tim.
Yeah. There you go.
You, me, Travis, Rick, man. We all three get together. I come down there and then we'll just do an episode straight from there.
That sounds awesome. I might have to travel for that though. So
Yeah,
Down.
we're gonna definitely hook it up, man.
We should see about working that out sometime this year.
My wife and I are planning on it because she doesn't do a lot of episodes, but she knows we're all friends here and she wants to meet people in person. So
Nice. That's cool.
Want to do that. All right. Anything else to say before Jonathan and I read us out of here?
Power.
Should I plug or something?
Yeah, plug your stuff, man.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Rick. I'm part of the nightclub. You can find us where you find podcasts, or if you don't care, then that's cool too.
But go find them. It's a good time.
There you go.
Boosh.
That's
Alrighty.
the plug, bro.
It was good. It was good. Masterful. All right. Ready, Jonathan?
Yeah.
There's something special about movies like this. Yeah, it's a little dated. Yeah, the suits might squeak and the ADR sometimes sounds a little bit off. But when we watched this as kids, none of that mattered.
Not at all. And just grateful for it.
Yeah.
We didn't just sit there picking apart the puppetry or wondering who was sweating inside a turtle costume. We believed. We felt it. These were real heroes fighting in the shadows, eating pizza on rooftops and teaching us about loyalty, brotherhood, and standing up for what's right.
This movie reminds us of a time when films weren't productions. They were experiences. And every now and then a rewatch like this brings back that magic. The kind that makes you forget you're watching actors and effects and just lets you be that kid again.
And that's why we do this, to laugh, to remember, and to celebrate what these movies mean to us, not just what they look like on paper.
So until next time, keep sending in your scores, keep watching the weird stuff, and don't forget that this is The Average, where the real review happens with your friends. See you next time.
Hell yeah.